Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do something a little different, something I haven't done in a while, and that is a community challenge. Stephanie over at Movie Chatter did a challenge that was put out by Tim Talks Talkie, and basically it's picking your favorite 25 movies from the 1970s. Now I was little in the 70s, and I didn't have parents that were really big into movies, so the movies I watched with them were like my dad liked westerns, my mom not so much. So basically, these movies are movies that my brothers and sisters kind of introduced me to, or as I got older, movies that I liked. So you're gonna see a lot of horror. It's just the way it is. Horror, some suspense, thrillers, and some disaster movies because I love those. So, all right, let's go ahead and I'm going to start with number 25 and work my way up to 1. Number 25, 10 to Midnight. Great movie starring Charles Brosnan. Action packed, pretty creepy, freaky, fun. Number 24 will be the first horror movie that I talk about, and that is Burnt Offerings. I love Burnt Offerings. This one was basically about a house that possesses like somebody to stay with it to keep it up, and the person that was possessed in the movie is getting too old or whatever. I need to rewatch it, but I just know that that these people, Karen Black and Oliver Reed, stay at the house, and crazy stuff happens all the way through. Number 23 is another really wild horror movie. It is called The Brood. This is probably one of the freakiest movies I've watched in a long time. This is the Criterion Collection movie, and it is directed by David Cronenberg, who is kind of known for his weird stuff. Once again, Oliver Reed is in this one, along with Samantha Egger. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting movie for sure. And I was trying to find, and Art Hindle is also in this. He plays Samantha Egger's boyfriend, I believe. I can't remember, but yeah, definitely check that one out. The next one, which would be number 22, is not a horror movie. It's actually Smokey and the Bandit. This was one that my mom watched and enjoyed. Starring Mr. Burt Reynolds, along with a crazy cast of characters. You also had Sally Field and Jackie Gleason, Jerry Reed, just a whole bunch of people. But yeah, a fun comedy, kind of an actiony, whatever. The next movie that I'm going to talk about, this is actually a bootleg copy, I'm sure, because I've never seen it available anywhere. I even tried to buy it at a video store once, and they just never put it on sale. This is a dramedy kind of a thing, yeah. So it is Christy McNichol in the night the lights went out in Georgia, basically set on the song that was made big by Vicki Lawrence back in this day and age. It stars Christy and Dennis Quaid. Yeah, also has Mark Hamill in it. So I had a crush on Christy. So that is number 20. Number 19 is we're back to horror. This one is a movie about a mouse. Actually, about a bunch of mouses. Ben. Had a very popular song written for it by Michael Jackson, which is kind of a love song and kind of weird. If you would have asked me back in the day, I would have said, oh, I love that song. And now it just is kind of odd. This really doesn't star people that I knew very much back then, and I still don't know. But basically, Cliff Kirtland is this guy who is investigating a murder, and he finds out that this guy has enemy, and the enemy has killer mice. He talks to the mice. He's like Dr. Dolittle of the rat population. All right, the next one, this one I loved. I remember seeing this at the drive-in movie theater with my friend Robert and his sisters, Patty and Judy. They drove us. It is called Bug. Creepy, creepy movie. I love this. Basically, these bugs infest this town, and yeah, as you can see, they catch stuff on fire. They're not real pleasant. No. Okay, number 19. No, 18. 18. I don't know. I've lost count. Fun one. Death Valley with the little dude from Christmas Story. Basically, him and his family go out to this lodge in the desert, and there's a killer on the loose. Next one, I love this movie. Actually, this is an extra copy of the Blu-ray that I have because I cannot find my other one that's already open. But The Car, this is just, one of those possessed car movies that seemed to be the thing back when Christine came out. This one is a little different. It does star James Brolin as the lead guy, Wade. Yeah, and it also stars Ronnie Cox, John Marley, and Kathleen Lloyd. And this car terrorizes this town. It's beautiful scenery. It's out in like the rocky desert area, so you get mountains, and yeah, it's fun movie. Loved it. The next one was a movie that I was so excited when it was released on Blu-ray, because all I ever had was an old VHS, and that is He Knows You're Alone. I was thrilled that this was released. This is a crazy movie about a guy who runs around killing brides-to-be, and goes about killing a lot of their friends as well. This stars Robert. No. Sorry. Really nobody that we know other than a very young Tom Hanks, who had a minor part in this movie, but as he got famous, it was kind of a draw. The next one I just received in the mail. It is Duel. Ooh, can you see that? This is the 4K Steelbook. This movie is so much fun. It's just Dennis Weaver in a car trying to avoid a trucker that he pissed off, and the trucker just does everything he can to try to kill Dennis Hopper. There's not a huge amount of dialogue in this movie because pretty much it's just Dennis Hopper scared to death in his car. Awesome. All right, next movie will be one of my favorite creature features of all time, and that is Alligator. This is the OG. The second one is okay. I don't think it was released in the 70s, though. I think it was the 80s because I believe this one was the late 70s. And, of course, this is about a little alligator that gets flushed into the sewer by some moron father and eventually becomes gigantic because of all the chemicals and stuff that the corporations are shooting down into the sewer. So Robert Forster, Robin Riker, Michael Gazzo, Jack Carter, and a few others try to avoid being chomped on or beat to death with the tail of the alligator. The worst scene for me in this whole movie is the pool scene, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It just bothered me. Now here's a slasher movie that you just really didn't hear a whole lot about, and it has recently come out on Synapse Films. They released a 4K, or not 4K, a Steelbook first, and now you can just get the standard copy of Massacre at Central High. I actually had a brand new video cassette VHS of this movie. Never opened, never watched. And one of my friends actually was working with this company to make this movie, and they used my VHS to get things right. They used some of the scenes, they upgraded it. It's a really good transfer. This is a revenge movie with a flip revenge in the middle. So we have a movie with a bunch of jerks picking on the kids that are not popular. And revenge is brought against them. And then those not so popular kids end up kind of being jerky. And then the revenge switches back towards them. Lots of fun. It does have a carradine in it. I can't remember. Robert Carradine, that's who it is. And it also has Kimberly Beck, who was the final girl in Friday the 13th Part 4. Andrew Stevens, who was like a big heartthrob during that time. Lots of interesting kills. Next, of course, where would we be in the 70s if we hadn't gotten the original Alien? Now, this is the disc set that has Alien, Aliens, Aliens 3, and Alien Resurrection. I loved Alien, and I love Aliens. The others, but yeah, come on. Sigourney Weaver, Newt, and that crazy Cenobite, or not Cenobites, I can't remember what they're called. The aliens. Yeah. Loved it. All right, this next one is not a horror movie. Sorry. It is American Graffiti. I love this movie. I remember watching it whenever I was younger at my brother's house whenever I was babysitting. He had cable, so I was able to watch a lot of movies, and this was one of them. Yeah, I enjoy this movie a lot. It has Ron Howard and Suzanne Summers. Mackenzie Phillips from One Day at a Time is in this. Just a fun movie, glamorizing the 50s, 60s, 50s, most likely was when this was probably set. Just fun little movie to watch if you're ever in the mood for that sort of thing. All right, the next one I'm going to show is a musical. I have two of those. This is not a full-on musical. This is just a song about music, about a musician. So there's music in it, and that is The Rose with Bette Midler. This is once again a Criterion release. This movie, first of all, I love the song The Rose by Bette, but this was just one of those movies where it's dirty, it's grungy, talks about, you see a lot about the addictions and stuff that go on with people that get into the music world, and the glamour and the downfalls. So good, serious movie with some decent music in it. All right, another one of my favorite creature features. It's right up there with Alligator. And we're going to look at this side of the movie. It is called Frogs. This is a crazy one where nature basically decides it's had enough of people polluting their land, and all kinds of animals just take it out on this hoity-toity snooty family and their visitors on their island. So if you like spiders and snakes and gators and snapping turtles and birds and all this other stuff, you'll like this one because they take care of business. All right, so now we're going to get a little bit into my collection of disaster movies. It's not all of them, but this is the next ones are my main three favorites. Towering Inferno, such a fun movie. They did this thing in the 70s where they would get all these big name stars from the past, from the recent past. They weren't like unknown anymore, but most of these people were past their prime, and they would put them all together in these big movies, these big disaster movies. So we had the airport movies, which I love, which I don't own, but I did order a copy of all of them in one set. But this was, of course, had Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, William Holden, and Faye Dunaway, among others. Richard Chamberlain was in it. Fred Astaire, Robert Wagner, O.J. Simpson. So yeah, Towering Inferno, awesome movie about a big building that catches on fire and the people above the fire have to figure out a way to get down. So kind of 9/11-ish without the planes. So you have this tragedy that takes place below everybody, and they have to figure out how to get out and survive. And not all of them do that. So, oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, so this is actually the sequel to the one that I thought I grabbed, but it is the Poseidon Adventure. This was another one that had a Gene Hackman, who was pretty big at the time. It had the woman known best for it was Shelley Winters. Her big scene was pretty shocking when the movie came out. So, yeah, it was a good movie. Once again, we have, the story probably. There was a remake called Poseidon, which I loved, but it did not do well. Basically, a big boat out in the ocean at New Year's, and a big wave knocks it over. So you have all these people in this boat, and they're trying to get up to the bottom of the boat, which is now on top. And it's the tales of flooding and fires and awful stuff happens. So, and then my very, 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 very favorite disaster movie back in the day was Earthquake. Once again, bunch of huge names in this from the past: Charlton Heston, Ava Gardner, George Kennedy, Lauren Green. Richard Roundtree, even Victoria Principal was in this, back before her Dynasty days. Yeah, awesome movie about an earthquake in California, devastates the town. You learn a lot about some of the characters. Yeah, it's exciting, and it's kind of a touching story here and there, so I really loved this one. All right, we're down to my last six. At number six, of course, what 70s horror fan would not have The Exorcist? I did not see this movie in the 70s. My sister Gail came home after seeing this movie so terrified that she slept with my parents for a couple nights, and then they made me sleep in her bed. I know it was a good 2 weeks, because she was so terrified by this movie. Now, did it terrify me to that extent? No, it scared the hell out of me the first time I watched it. I was, whenever I was younger. But I think it still holds up today. It is just a good, scary movie. All right, it was really hard for me to place these next five. And it could change on any given day for the most part. The next one is not a horror movie. It is Tootsie. It was Sidney Pollack was the one who directed this, and it starred the wonderful Dustin Hoffman. So any of y'all who think drag is an issue now, it was around in the 70s. It was around way back in the ancient times. So just get over it. But yeah, this is basically a story of a man who loses his job and ends up trying to go for another job. Problem is, the job's for a woman, so Dustin comes to the rescue in drag. Ooh, it's so hard for me to pick from these four, but I am going to go with number 4, Carrie. I read this book like 5,000 times whenever I was younger, and the book is definitely better than the movie, but this movie, awesome. It's not completely true to the book, because I'll give you a little spoiler. In the book, the gym teacher doesn't die. Not all the kids in the prom die. What ends up happening is Carrie actually moves the gym teacher out of the way, and there's a door in the back of the gym that the kids get out of. So not all of the kids. The main peckers, they get theirs. But yeah, awesome. And she walks through the town, blowing the whole town up. It's not just she goes home and kills her mom. Also, that's not how her mom dies in the book with all the knives and stuff. Just telling you, read the book. So, Carrie, number 4. Number 3, I have to go with Jaws. This was the first horror movie that I remember seeing at a sit-down, like an indoor theater. absolutely terrified me. I never went to the beach again, and I lived in Illinois, so it wasn't like there were sharks in the lakes. But still, this movie terrified me. That first scene with Chrissy, just I was a basket case after that. But I absolutely loved this movie. And you'll also notice, I'm sorry, I'm not a Star Wars, Star Trek, Star Spacey poo poo kind of guy. So none of those are in here. None of, yeah, sorry. All right, so I'm going to go with this. Number 2 for me then will be Halloween. I love the Halloween franchise. It is definitely between that and Friday the 13th, my favorite. I also like Final Destination and Scream. But yeah, Halloween, how can you go wrong with Jamie Lee Curtis? She had already done a few other horror movies before this one. So yeah, it's got to be Halloween. Or no, actually The Fog and Prom Night and the other ones actually came out in the 80s, early 80s. But I believe she taped them all around the same time. I'll have to look that up. I can't remember. All right, so number 1 for me is basically it is a sentimental pick. It's Grease. I've done this play several times. I've been in it as a cast member for different productions, and it has my Olivia in it. So yeah, this is a movie I can watch over and over again and have. I have like 15 different versions of it. I just got the 4K version that I talked about in a prior video. So, all right, so that are my top 25 for 1970s. If you want to do this challenge, just make sure that you include, is it Tim Talks Talkie in your thing so he can average out who said what and then compile and do a top 25 of the top 25. All right, guys, thanks. I know this is a long one, but I do appreciate if you like this, please like, and until later, I will talk to y'all later. Bye.